Thank you for the kind introduction. Can you hear me properly? Should I maybe put this closer? Ah, okay. This way maybe, it's better. Too tall. Well, what I wanted to start with, Professor Emud already told you that I had the opportunity to read a chapter from this book before my fellow PhD colleagues. But if I know correctly, the book will appear, so they will have the opportunity as well soon. And I was honored with the task of talking about this article, which was contributed to by nearly all of the presenters in today's conference. And yes, I will try to compare the particular countries and show the overarching trends and present the region as one, which was quite a difficult issue. But from what I can see as the similitudes when it comes to the evolution of this particular field of the law, are the same historical dilemmas, challenges arising from the larger geopolitical context of the region, even though the answers given to these may have diverged when it came to finding a solution. The problem which necessitated these was basically the same. I could identify three such main dilemmas that have shaped this field of the law in the region. In a chronological order, these are the following. The source of all, the first, the European division of labor in the early modern age, which destined for an East Central Europe a mostly agrarian role. The second, the legal unification and modernization of the law after the First World War, after the map of Europe was redrawn. And the third was the transition from the centrally planned economy to a market economy based on free enterprise and private property after the collapse of the Soviet-type totalitarian regimes. When it came to the first dilemma, the division of labor, I would like to mention that in the early modern period, the big geographical discoveries, as you all know, led to the countries which were part of it to become rich. Industry and other financial activities started slowly but surely dominating their economies, while in the east and part of the continent, agriculture remained the dominant economic sector. And I think this was the moment when the two parts of Europe really separated. In the Western countries, there was less need for serfs and more need for wage earning, let's call it proletariat. While on the eastern part of the continent, there was an interest in preserving feudalism and to maintain the agrarian output. All of this translated to the field of company law signaled a distinctive trajectory for the western and for the eastern part of the continent. In Western Europe, the evolution of company law was predominantly contractual, driven by organic growth to meet economic demands which have newly arisen. This organic development was subsequently followed by a phase of state regulation, first emergence of proto-capitalism, and then came regulation. In contrast, in East Central Europe, where economic development was historically delayed, and the approach was to facilitate the creation of companies through legal means. In this context, legal regulation was instituted prior to the actual formation of and proliferation of companies within the economy, serving as the initiative of top-down modernization. Most of the time, this modernization was done through codification. what I mean by top-down approach, I have brought you two major examples. The first Polish joint stock company established in 1766 for the establishment of wool factories was established on the initiative of King Stanislav August Poniatowski, sorry, as well as like the first commercial bank of Hungary, the commercial bank of Pest, which was also instituted by an imperial decree. But we can see examples of this top-down approach even if we go outside to the Danube's bank, because the chain bridge was also constructed under the observance of joint stock company, which was established by law to observe the construction of this bridge in 1836. But what I want to tell you about is what were the main codifications that helped propel forward this economic modernization and these trials of catching up with the Western countries. First of all, the most important to mention is the Austrian Allgemeines Handelsgesetzbuch, which was adopted in 1863, which was basically the same as the commercial code in all of the other German countries. This, of course, was applied in the Cisleithania part of the empire, from our countries which interest us now, Czechia, Slovenia, and some parts of Poland. While in the other countries of the region, codification most of the time ensued afterwards. The Hungarian and Croatian codifications happened in 1875. They happened after the German, the Austrian model, and they regulated 4 types of corporate vehicles. But it's important to mention that Hungary, even before this time, had an act from 1840 which under which such corporate vehicles could be established. It's interesting when it comes to the Serbian and Romanian codifications. The Serbian codification was adopted in 1860, and it mainly used a French model, while the Romania adopted 2 commercial codes in the 19th century, one after the French model, the other one after the Italian model. The one from 1887 will play an important role in our story. But now let's continue with the second hardship all of the countries of the regions had to face, or nearly all of them, sorry, that being the legal unification and modernization of the law after the First World War. The countries which appeared in the place of the former empires had the colossal task to create their own unified company law. This was necessary to ensure, of course, legal certainty, but without trying to disrupt too much the economic continuity inside the state. This unification could be done by 2 means, either the extension of some of the already existing regulation to the whole of the country, or by the trying of recodification of the company law. The latter path was chosen by all the countries which had to do this. But why was this necessary? Well, if you look on the brownish part of the presentation, you can see that in all of the countries, or nearly all of the countries which resulted, which appeared on the map after the First World War, many legal systems were private legal systems were enforced in parallel at the same time. And when it came to company law, if I'm not mistaken, but if I am, then Mr. Veres will correct me. In Romania, there were 4 such company laws at the time: the original one, the Austrian one, the Hungarian one in Transylvania, and the Russian one in Bessarabia. The Austrian one was in force in Bukovina. In Czechoslovakia, of course, 2, the original Austrian one and the Hungarian one. In Yugoslavia, a total of 6. The Austrian one in Slovenia, the Serbian one, the Croatian one, the Bosnian-Herzegovinian one, and the Montenegrin one. In Poland, a total of 4 were in force at the same time. It's interesting because in the Congress Kingdom, the French Code of Commerce was in force from 1807. In some parts of the country, in the western parts of the country, the German Handelsgesetzbuch of 1897 was in force. In other parts, the Austrian Allgemeines Handelsgesetzbuch from 1863. And in some parts, the Russian Trade Act of 1912. So parallelly, legislation existed from 2 different centuries, even in the same countries. When it came to the solution to solve this problem, the codification, it must be mentioned, it was only a success in Poland, though, as Poland was the only one which could successfully consolidate its commercial legislation into a commercial code in 1934, based on an Italian project, which was also based on the German system. In Czechoslovakia, the draft wasn't finished. Only its 2 first books were submitted by the Ministry of Justice to the parliament. When it came to Yugoslavia and Romania, even though these codes were adopted, they never entered into force. But it must be mentioned, when it came to legal unification, in Romania's case, this was in the end achieved during and after the Second World War by the extension of the old legislation of the 1887 Commercial Code to the whole of the country. Yes, when the countries which didn't have to do legal unification had to do some kind of legal modernization, it must be mentioned that in 1930 in Hungary it was introduced the possibility to create a limited liability company. This had already been the case in the Austrian part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire from 1906, but this rule was also applied to Slovakia after the unification of Czechoslovakia, and also the Polish Commercial Code had regulation when it came to limited liability companies, but the Yugoslav draft did not, and the Romanian draft did, but as the unification was done through the extension of the old legislation, this has meant that the Romanian population had to wait until 1990 to be able to form a limited liability company.
Except Bukovina.
Except Bukovina, yeah, right. When it came to the last hardship faced by the region, this was the transition from the centrally planned economy to the market economy. And this critical phase of economic transformation and legal realignment was achieved through a complex, in a divergent matter, but I can show some parallels. It was done through legislation, of course, in every country. Some countries adopted multiple acts to achieve this transition, while other countries have adopted only one or two such acts. Particular countries have transitioned, have transitioned to a monist approach when it came to private law from a dualistic one. Some countries remained with their dualistic approach. I have a very, very interesting example here. If you see the table below, these three were the countries which adopted one or two legislations, acts which are still in force and form the base of company law today, which therefore had to be amended a lot of times. But as you can see, the absolute winner is Romania, because the act in force regulating company law was amended the most times in the region. All of the other countries have a newer regulation, though. And in summary, I would like to say that East Central Europe has traversed a complex range of historical disruptions and legislative reforms, as you could see from the presentation. But we must mention that the current company law frameworks are increasingly converging because of the harmonizing influence of the European Union, and we will see what will happen in the future, but I think this is the path forward. Thank you very much for your attention.